Hello there. Just a few quick remarks about Propertius and his poems about Cynthia and otherwise. Before I read this particular one, which is my favourite and I think representative of Propertius as a whole. Those argue that Propertius was the first sort of romantic, in the way we conceive it now, poet. It's probably spot on, I think. But there's a contradiction here. He has an culture about him that's very Roman, and you don't get in what we consider normally romantic poetry, where the poet himself, or the speaker of the romantic poem, however you want to pass that, is sort of swept away, translated, in his own love. And whereas here we have Propertius, I think it's good that this is not translated into verse from the Latin. Although I've looked at the Latin and it's very faithful to the Latin, it's forceful, and to use an outdated sort of term perhaps, or not PC term, it's very sort of manly, and so it is very romantic, but you have to counterbalance that this whole auteur, and you also have this not so much in this poem, but you have this translation probably could not have been published in sort of the last 40 years or so, because it has so many obscenities. He's very frank about bestiality, bisexuality, homosexuality, lesbianism, all sorts of things that we don't really associate with romanticism, but which are very Roman. But the main thing about this poem, and why it's so representative of all his poems, is because of the twinning of love and death, and how romantic love, being in love, translates one and does the one above death. And he goes on about this in several poems, but this one I think is the best. It conveys all those elements I was talking about: the hauteur, it doesn't get to have any obscenities because it couldn't be published on Amazon. This video wouldn't be posted. But it does. But it also has that twinning of love and death, which are essential to romantic love. The lifting above the mundane, the quotidian, and all those worldly concerns. As the poet Yeats said, he thought the only two topics that were worth considering for a serious mind were love, sex, and the dead. And the reason for this is in this poem and any number of other romantic poems. And I think Propertius is the best to go on about this, to present it in such a light where being in love makes the world seem unimportant. The exploits of the world, the concerns of the ordinary man, everything except death, which love seems to provide. Even unrequited, painful love seems to provide a triumph over. So, I'll read the poem. Mortal, you want to know when you will meet your death, and by what road it will come. You stare up at the sky, a cloudless blue, and you look for auguries, Punic omens. You peer at the stars and wonder which bode well. You march against the Parthians, sail to oppose the Britons, braving on land and sea unimagined perils. You live as well as you can, but worry that civil war may sweep you up in one of Mars' campaigns that could jog on year after year and never to any conclusion. You take good care, pay attention, but worry. Will your house burn down? Will somebody lace your drink with poison? It's only the lover who knows when he's likely to go, and he has no fear of Boreas' icy blasts, or the dismal clangor of armor. Let him embark in Charon's skiff, and trail his hand through the reeds of the Styx. As the sail swells with a dank underworld breeze, he's still alert for his mistress' voice, calling his name, and, whether the rules allow it or not, he'll answer.